Today, I am not here to entertain, I'm not here to impress, I am here to confront. I am here to speak the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how unwelcome. Esteemed leaders of the African Union, distinguished delegates, brothers and sisters of this beloved continent, there comes a moment in the history of a people when silence is no longer strength, when diplomacy becomes betrayal, and when handshakes in the dark are the chains that keep a nation down. That moment is now late. Today I speak on behalf of the millions of Africans whose names will never appear in these glossy reports, but who pay the price for every lie written in them. I speak for the children with bloated stomachs and empty classrooms. I speak for the mothers giving birth on cold hospital floors. I speak for the farmers who watch foreign companies fence off the very land our ancestors died to defend. I speak for the youth angry awake and asking how long. You see, the world is changing. Empires are trembling. Colonial mosques are falling. But what remains, what still cripples Africa, is not just external exploitation. It is internal betrayal. And this is the cancer we have come here to treat today. Let me say it plainly, we cannot continue to call ourselves free while we remain mentally colonized and economically shackled. We cannot keep sitting in summits funded by those who profit from our division, and then act surprised when we are handed scripts instead of sovereignty. We cannot solve African problems with European solutions. We cannot beg for liberation while still drinking from the very chalice that poisoned our fathers. I did not come to ask for permission. I came to deliver a verdict. Africa will no longer apologize for saying no. No to false partnerships. No to exploitative debt traps. No to endless interference disguised as aid. No to puppet leadership installed to maintain foreign interests. If that offends some in this room, so be it. If that draws the scorn of former colonizers, let it. Because we are not here to comfort oppressors. We are here to resurrect our dignity. And if this union means anything at all, then let it begin today. Let this be the day Africa said no. No to silence. No to fiat. No to exploitation. No to the illusion of sovereignty while begging for budget support. We, the people of Africa, are not poor. We are plundered. We are not backward. We are deliberately held back. Though we are not divided by faith or tribe, we are divided by those who fear what a united Africa would mean. Today, in this very hall, I call for a reckoning. Not with Europe, not with the IMF, not even with our colonial past. I call for a reckoning with ourselves as African leaders, because no enemy outside can defeat us unless we are first defeated within. I speak to you not as a president, but as a son of the soil, a man who has seen what bullets do to children, what sanctions do to medicine, what foreign policies do to freedom. And I say this with a heart that burns. If we do not change course, the next generation will bury us not with honor, but with shame. So today, let this not be another summit of smiles and speeches. Let this be the line in the sand. Let this be the start of a new African century. Let this be the moment the world hears one voice rising from this continent saying, enough, the chains are off. The truth is loud, and Africa finally is awake. No more puppets, no more chains. Brothers and sisters, let me begin with a truth so sharp it cuts deeper than any sword. Africa has never lacked leaders, only lions. We have presidents, we have ministers, we have parliaments and constitutions. But for too long, many of them have been dressed in fine suits, sewn by foreign hands. They walk proudly through golden halls while their people sleep on dust floors. They toast with champagne at donor conferences while their farmers drink from polluted rivers. And why? Because too many of our leaders do not serve their people. They serve their paymasters. This is not leadership, this is puppetry. And today we cut the strings. Let me speak plainly. There are men in this room, perhaps at this very table, who are still reporting back to Paris, to Washington, to London before they report to their own people. There are leaders who fly abroad to sign deals their citizens will pay for with blood, sweat, and generations of debt. There are presidents who come into power through elections funded not by the people, but by foreign embassies and shadowy development partners. They hand over our resources, gold, oil, land, in exchange for temporary power, personal wealth, and photo ops. These are the men who wear the mask of freedom, while bowing to the same masters our ancestors died to escape. Enough. We are not free if we are governed by remote control. We are not sovereign if our budgets are drafted by foreign consultants. We are not independent if we must beg for the right to feed our children with our own grain, to mine our own minerals, to use our own currency. What is this if not the refined version of slavery? Once they chained our ancestors, now they chain our economies. Once they whipped our backs up, Now they whip our governments into submission with interest rates, sanctions, and conditions. So I ask you, what has really changed? Is a puppet less dangerous because it wears a national flag? Is a slave less bound because the chains are invisible? To the African people watching me now, I say this: you were not born to be ruled by foreign interests hiding behind African faces. Your soil is sacred, your voice is powerful, and your destiny cannot be outsourced to Brussels, Beijing, or Washington. Leadership is not diplomacy with the oppressor. It is defiance in the face of injustice. And I say to every African leader who still plays this game of silence, the time has come to choose: be a lion for your people or be a puppet for your masters. But know this: history is watching, and our children will remember who stood tall and who sold them for silver. This is not about Burkina Faso alone. This is about Africa. This is about reclaiming the sacred responsibility of leadership, not as a privilege but as a burden carried with honor. And today, with every fiber in my soul, I reject the puppet strings. I reject the golden chains. I reject the throne that comes with silence. If they call me a threat, so be it. If they sanction me, so be it. If they try to erase me, I would rise 10 times stronger, because I would rather die a free man than live as a well-fed slave. And to every young African listening to me, remember this: your freedom will never be given to you. You must seize it with both hands, guard it with truth, and defend it with unity. Today I reaffirm my oath to my people: no more puppets, no more chains, no more masters' time. Only Africa standing tall, unshaken, and unapologetically free. The lion has roared, now let the empire tremble. The price is silence, how African leaders were bowed. You ask, how did we get here? How did a continent so rich become a beggar at every table? The answer is simple: our betrayal was bought, and it was cheap. The continent wasn't conquered with guns this time. It was conquered with grants, with visas, with Swiss accounts, with scholarships for our children to make them forget where home is. The truth is bitter, but I must say it. Africa was not only colonized by force, it was in deception. They offered investment, but took control of our ports, our railways, our land, even our skies. Some of you sitting in this hall signed those deals. You sold your people's birthright for a handshake and a motorcade. You traded your country's dignity for a title you don't even control. You took loans that will be repaid not by you, but by the barefoot child in the village, the mother with no medicine, the farmer with no seed. You knew the terms were poisonous, but you drank anyway because the chalice was made of gold. Do you not say, they don't need to assassinate us anymore? They don't need to stage coups or drop bombs. They just invite us to conferences, clap when we speak, and send us back home, still broke, still blind, still believing we are partners. But we are not partners, we are pawns. In the price of our silence, a continent drowning in debt, rich in minerals but bankrupt in opportunity. A land where presidents live in palaces, but their citizens sleep in fear of hunger, disease, and hopelessness. Do you know how many contracts have been signed in the past decade that give away oil blocks, uranium mines, and forests for cents on the dollar? Do you know how many military bases sit on our soil, not to protect us, but to watch us? And who speaks up? You are not. Because when you are paid to remain silent, truth becomes the enemy. And when comfort becomes your God, justice becomes inconvenient. But I am not here to remain silent. And I did not come to this summit to be liked. I came to tell you, the continent is bleeding, and many of you are holding the knife. You wear the garments of revolutionaries but act as colonial managers. You sing the songs of Kwame Nkrumah and Thomas Sankara, but you quote from the playbooks of their killers. When a true voice rises, you call them a threat. When a young African speaks of sovereignty, you say he is knave-dead. When a nation stands up, you isolate it, mock it, sanction it. But notice Traoré, no amount of fear, no cocktail dinner, no foreign pressure will make me abandon the truth. I have seen the contracts, I have read the classified letters, and I know that many African leaders were not just bribed, they were bought. They became salesmen of suffering, middlemen for misery, distributors of dependency. And the saddest part, they still smile in the photos, still speak of African solutions, still raise the flag, a flag whose meaning they've long forgotten. To them I ask, how much is the soul of your nation worth? What price tag did they place on your people's future? And when you kneel before the World Bank, the IMF, the foreign emissaries, do you still hear your mother tongue echoing in your soul, or has it been replaced by the language of servitude? I am not perfect, but I have chosen not to be a tool of empire. And if that makes me dangerous, so be it. Let me be clear. Africa is not dying of poverty, it is dying of betrayal. And the betrayal came from within. But here's the good news. If we were sold out by our own, we can be saved by our own. We don't need to look to the west. We need to look each other in the eye. We need to find again the fire that once burned in the chests of Lumumba, Nyerere, Sankara. Because Africa does not lack talent. Africa does not lack courage. Africa lacks the unity of leaders who are not for sale. So I stand here not to curse the darkness alone, but to light a flame. And I say to every youth, every elder, every citizen who feels forgotten, the silence is ending, the betrayal is exposed, the reckoning has begun. Because if Africa must rise, it must first rid itself of the rot in its own house. No more puppets, no more excuses, no more silence bought with blood. This day, this moment, will be remembered not because it was comfortable, but because it was necessary. Let the record show. This was the day Africa said no, not whispered it, not murmured it behind closed doors. We said it from the mountaintop with fire in our chests and truth on our tongues. No to being permanent clients of foreign banks. No to being test markets for policies that wouldn't survive one day in Europe. No to being praised in speeches but punished in trade. No to being seen as useful only when our sons are needed for wars and our daughters for cheap labor. No to a future negotiated in rooms where no African voice is allowed to speak freely. Yes, this day will be remembered. Not for the handshakes, not for the photographs, not for the perfectly worded communiques written by consultants flown in from London or Paris. No, it will be remembered because this was the day we broke the script. The script they handed us that told us to behave, to smile, to sit quietly, to clap politely. The one that warned us if you speak too boldly, you will lose aid. If you question the debt, you will be isolated. If you refuse to bow, your country will pay the price. And yet we stood, we spoke, and we did not bow. Today I watched men I once thought were asleep rise with fire in their eyes. I heard the voices of presidents who for years were muted by fear. One by one they said it. We will not surrender our children's future for another aid package. We will not trade sovereignty for access to diplomatic dinners. We will not call slavery by another noun, no matter how sophisticated the language. And to the foreign envoys in this room, listening nervously behind the translation booths, let me be clear, this is not hatred, this is not hostility. This is history correcting itself. This is truth without apology. We will not shoot you. We will not beg you. But we will no longer obey you. You see, you miscalculated. You thought our division would last forever. That our borders would blind us. That our religions would confuse us. That our poverty would keep us quiet. But Africa has awakened. From Algiers to Accra, from Dakar to Dar es Salaam. A generation is rising that was born under your debt, but refuses to die under your rule. You cannot intimidate them. They don't want your visas. They're not dreaming of Europe. They're dreaming of rebuilding Timbuktu. They're dreaming of healing Congo. They're dreaming of seeing African gold turned into African wealth. The Yardis Ankaras reborn. The Nkrumahs reawakened. The Biko still breathing. And today I speak on their behalf. Africa is not asking for permission anymore. We are not asking to be invited to the table. We're flipping the table over and building our own table. We're not asking for inclusion. We're demanding respect, because when respect is not offered, power will be taken. And we have reached that hour. Some will say, I am angry. I am angry for the mothers who buried children under UN flags, for the farmers displaced by mining contracts signed in foreign languages, for the young men crossing deserts, not for adventure, but because their countries were robbed blind. And you know what? That anger is holy, because it is born from love. The kind of love that says, I will no longer watch my people suffer so that another man's empire may thrive. They so marked this day. The day Africa said no. No to debt diplomacy. No to dollar change. No to surveillance disguised as security partnerships. No to puppets in presidential palaces. No to being forever the junior partner, the grateful recipient, the polite observer. This day we became the authors of our own chapter. And as we write it, let every nation who once ruled us know. You may have written the prologue of our oppression. Let this message echo beyond this hall. Let it shake the foundations of every foreign capital built with African wealth. Let it reach the ears of every young African still doubting their power. The world will remember this summit not because we were loud talk, but because we were finally heard. And from this day forward, may every summit feel the weight of African conscience. Unapologetic, unbought, and unstoppable. The Africa we will build, vision beyond resistance. My brothers and sisters, now that we've said no to the old world, let me tell you what we say yes to. Because resistance without vision is a scream into the void. but resistance with vision. That is a revolution. And Africa is not just resisting, Africa is rebuilding. We will build a continent where sovereignty is sacred. We will build a continent where no president kneels before the World Bank like a beggar at a feast, where budgets are written in Bamako and not Brussels, where currencies do not carry the face of a foreign oppressor, but the spirit of our ancestors. We will end the era where African parliaments wait for approval from foreign donors before feeding their people. No more governments that ask what will France think before they ask what does my village need. Sovereignty is not arrogance. Sovereignty is dignity. And we will teach our children that the flag they salute belongs to them and not to the companies mining our lands or tax, the embassies monitoring our every move. We will build an economy that feeds us first. Let the next generation remember, we stopped exporting raw hope and importing processed poverty. We will build industries, not just mines. Factories not as a sports. Agriculture that grows food for our people, not profits for someone's offshore. We are tired of seeing cocoa shipped to Europe and returning to us as chocolate we cannot afford. Tired of seeing coltan leave Congo powering smartphones while children there have no electricity. We will feed Africa first. We will clothe Africa first. We will power Africa first. And yes, we will trade with the world, but as equals, not as eternal suppliers of cheap labor and cheaper lives. We will build a youth that leads, not leaves. I speak now to the young African watching from a crowded cyber cafe or a dimly lit classroom. You are not the future, you are the present. We will not wait for permission to invest in your dreams. We will redirect our resources from luxury for the future opportunity for the many. Every school we build is an act of revolution. Every startup we fund is a bullet against economic colonization. Every passport we make powerful is a declaration that Africa matters. We will teach our youth not just to pass exams, but to ask what problems can I solve for my people. Not how can I escape to Europe, but how can I build something here worth staying for. The brain drain ends today. Because our best minds belong home, we will build unity stronger than borders. They drew our borders with rulers. We will erase their lines with unity. From Ghana to Guinea, from Burkina Faso to Benin, strength is not in our names, but in our solidarity. The West counts on our divisions. We will disarm them with cooperation. We will trade in African currency. We will share energy, water, and wisdom. We will build railroads that don't stop at colonial borders. Imagine a continent where a young woman from Uganda can start a business that reaches the car by drone, where a farmer in Mali learns drought resistance from a brother in Namibia, where no African is a foreigner in Africa. That is the continent we will build. We will build institutions that defend the people, not the powerful. We will rebuild the African Union not as a waiting room for elite handshakes, but as the engine of the new era. An AU that sends food during famine, not just condolences. That sends troops to stop genocide, not just to wave flags at summits. An AU that doesn't ask what Washington thinks before defending Ouagadougou. And we will protect our own tongue. Our journalists will speak without fear. Our artists will sing truth to power. Our people will not need to beg their leaders for basic rights. Justice will not be bought. Laws will not be weapons of the elite. And power will be sacred, not stolen. We will build with spirit, not just steel. But hear me, this is more than policy. This is spiritual. This is a reawakening of a people long denied their reflection. It is not just about roads and trade, but about identity. We will rediscover who we are. We will speak our languages proudly. We will tell our own stories. And we will teach our children that greatness was not imported, it was born on this soil. So let the world hear us now. We are not asking to be saved. We are not asking for permission. We are building a nation of nations, a union of dignity, self-determination, and divine destiny. And when our grandchildren ask what we did in this hour of crisis, we will not say we waited. We will not say we hoped. We will say, China, we built, we rose, we became, we reclaimed Africa. The global reaction when power starts to panic. My brothers and sisters, what happens when you finally stand tall after centuries of being told to kneel? The world does not clap. The powerful do not smile. They panic up. And make no mistake, they are panicking now. They called us crazy before they called us dangerous. At first they laughed. They said it's just noise from a young president in a small country. They dismissed us as rebels. They whispered in their circles, give it time, he'll fall in line like the rest. But we did not beg. We did not bend. And now they are no longer laughing, because the fire of truth does not need permission to spread. It only needs one spark. And that spark has ignited across the continent. When you challenge empire, it fights back. Watch closely. They don't attack open nor theatre. They move through media, through markets, through misinformation. Suddenly they label us authoritarian, destabilizing, threat to democracy. What they mean is we stopped obeying. They weaponize their headlines, their analysts, their embassies. They say Traoré is dividing Africa, when all I've ever done is tell Africa the truth. They say we're rejecting development, but what we're rejecting is debt traps dressed as aid. They say we're turning inward, when what we're doing is finally turning toward each other. You will know their fear not by what they say to you, but by what they say about you when you stop answering their phone calls. They will try to isolate you, let them try to. They will pull strings in SEO-friendly. They will twist arms at the UN. They will whisper the banks, squeeze them. They will order media to paint us in shadow. But hear me now. We are not isolated. We are chosen. And every sanction they throw, every threat they make, every scheme they plot, only proves one thing. We have left their plantation. We are no longer the children of empire. We are the builders of our own destiny. Their panic is a prophecy. A new order is emerging. When colonial powers panic, history is being rewritten. When the IMF trembles, someone has refused to kneel. When the West screams dictator, it often means a man remembered his people. Let that be our testimony. Let them worry about losing access to our gold. Let them scramble to explain it's over. Your lies have expired. Your grip has broken. We did not gather to beg pardon. We gathered to build. We did not assemble for applause. We assembled for action. We are not here to manage decline. We are here to ignite destiny. The world has always talked about Africa. In newspapers, in secret reports, in smoky rooms filled with oil tycoons, weapons dealers, and NGO actors smiling through fangs. They all talked about Africa, but they never expected Africa to speak for itself. And now we are loud, clear, and unshakeably united. To the empires who still write treaties with poison ink. To the financiers who trade our poverty like stocks on Wall Street. To the organizations who come bearing aid in one hand and control in the other. We say this not with malice but with finality. We are not your project. We are not your charity. We are not your experiment. We are nations. We are souls. We are sovereign. And if you fear our unity, if you tremble at our awakening, good soul, you should end it. Because we are not building this Africa with your permission. We are building it with purpose. From our own soil, with our own hands, and under our own sky. To every African child watching this from a dusty classroom, know that your dreams are valid. To every farmer who wakes before the sun just to eat once a day, know that your labor is sacred. To every youth who has been told you must flee your continent to matter, know that the greatest revolution is when you plant your future here. Africa is not running anymore. Africa is not waiting anymore. Africa is rising and it will not be stopped. So let it be written, let it be echoed in every corner of the globe. On this day, the lion did not roar. The lion awakened. He pauses, voice low but heavy with meaning. And from this moment forward, let no African bow to fear. Let no leader betray our people for silver. Let no faith divide us again. This is our Africa. One blood, one voice of pride, one oath that, one future. Let them hear us in every capital. Let them know the day Africa said no was the day we finally said yes to ourselves. We will not go back. We will not be broken. We will be free because we have chosen to be. He raises his fist one final time. Long live Africa. Long live its children. Long live the freedom we shall never again surrender. The time is now. The power is ours. And history is watching. Let the world remember this. Destabilizing, threat to democracy. What they mean is we stopped obeying. They weaponize their headlines, their analysts, their embassies. They say Traoré is dividing Africa, when all I've ever done is tell Africa the truth. They say we're rejecting development, but what we're rejecting is debt traps dressed as aid. They say we're turning inward, when what we're doing is finally turning toward each other. You will know their fear not by what they say to you, but by what they say about you when you stop answering their phone calls. They will try to isolate you, let them try to. They will pull strings in SEO-friendly. They will twist arms at the UN. They will whisper the banks, squeeze them. They will order media to paint us in shadow. But hear me now. We are not isolated. We are chosen. And every sanction they throw, every threat they make, every scheme they plot, only proves one thing. We have left their plantation. We are no longer the children of empire. We are the builders of our own destiny. Their panic is a prophecy, a new order is emerging. When colonial powers panic, history is being rewritten. When the IMF trembles, someone has refused to kneel. When the West screams dictator, it often means a man remembered his people. Let that be our testimony. Let them worry about losing access to our gold. Let them scramble to explain why Africa no longer picks up their call. Let them draft reports and hold emergency meetings. While we dig wells, while we build schools, while we re-educate our children to love their soil more than their screens. Because while they panic, we prepare. And now they fear the one thing they cannot control, our unity. What truly terrifies them is not my voice. It is your awakening. They can assassinate a man. They can sanction a government. But they cannot stop an entire generation rising with clarity in its eyes. They fear Muslims and Christians walking arm in arm. They fear Ghana, Mali, and Burkina Faso standing as one. They fear a market powered by African currency. They fear a union of hearts more than a union of treaties. Because once Africans see that we are not enemies, we are reflections, then no foreign policy, no aid package, no propaganda will ever control us again. That is why they panic. But we will not be distracted by their fear. We do not need to respond to every slander. We do not need to defend ourselves in courts we did not build. We will not waste energy proving to colonizers that we are civilized. Our progress will be our reply. Our unity will be our argument. Our success will be our silence. So let them fear, let them write, let them scream, because as they panic, we build. And let this be the new declaration from the heart of Africa. You cannot rule us through fear. You cannot divide us with lies. You cannot buy what is already redeemed by the blood and sweat of our ancestors. This is the sound of power shifting. So I say to them, yes, panic, because we are no longer yours. We are no longer asleep. We are no longer for sale. The chains have shattered. The silence has ended. Then Africa has spoken. The oath of tomorrow, Africa will not go back. My beloved people of Africa, my fellow revolutionaries, my voice today is not only a call to action. It is a sacred oath, an oath to tomorrow, because after what we have witnessed, after the massive fallen, after the betrayal of old allies and the awakening of true friends, we cannot go back. We swear this to our ancestors, to those who were kidnapped from our shores in chains, to those who toiled under the burning sun of sugar fields and cotton plantations, to the kings who were assassinated, the queens who were erased, to the visionaries who were branded mad or silenced by bullets. We say this with sacred resolve. You did not suffer in vain. You did not fall into the dust for nothing. We will not let the freedom you dreamed of be auctioned off in boardrooms. We are no longer asking. We are no longer negotiating our dignity. We are reclaiming what was always ours. Africa, we swear, we will not go back. No more apologies for our boldness. We will not apologize for standing tall. We will not bow because our voice makes the West uncomfortable. We will not tone down our truths to make colonizers feel safe. Let them choke on their narratives. Let them squirm under the weight of their history. Let them deal with the reality that the children of Africa are now men and women with fire in their bones. We will speak. We will lead us. We will govern ourselves in our own languages, in our own way, with our own dreams. Our children will never inherit fear again. For too long, African children inherited trauma, not triumph. We were taught to admire foreign flags more than our own. We grew up thinking real success was leaving the continent. No more. Our schools will no longer teach colonial heroes and call it history. Our media will no longer idolize billionaires who plundered our soil. Our children will grow up knowing you are not the future of someone else's empire. You are the foundation of your own. We make this oath to our sons and daughters. You will never again be second class in your own homeland. You will walk the soil of Africa and know it is sacred, powerful, and yours. The new Africa will not be built with old chains. To our leaders across the continent, you cannot sit at the table of justice with hands still tied by IMF loans. You cannot demand respect from Europe while begging for aid that poisons your people. You cannot wear the cloth of revolution while your bank accounts are stitched by foreign puppeteers. It ends now, Taha. No more neo-colonial partnerships, just as progress. No more secret deals written in European languages behind closed doors. Africa will not be built in the shadows of colonial capitals. We will rise in daylight, with clean hands, clean hearts, and unbreakable will. To the youth, the torch is now yours. Young people of Africa, you're not too young to lead. You are not too weak to build. You are not too scattered to unify. You are the answer our ancestors prayed for. You are the storm that the empires cannot predict. You are the generation that will not sell out, burn out, or stay silent. You don't need permission, you need purpose. And that purpose is this: to become the living proof that Africa's glory is not a myth, it is a movement. To become the generation that ends begging and starts building. To write the new scripture of this continent, not in books, but in bridges, farms, satellites, and sovereign laws. Take the torch, hold it high, and never let it die again. The oath we swear together. So today, in the summit of awakening, in this hour of reckoning, let every African heart rise and declare, we are not what they called us. We are not the helpless, the hopeless, the divided. We are the descendants of greatness. And we are going forward, not backward. Let it echo from the Sahel to the Cape, from the Horn to the Atlantic, from the villages to the skylines. This is our oath. No more puppets, no more chains, no more silence, no more saying. We will write our own history, and it will be glorious. Africa, this is our oath of tomorrow. And we will not go back. Not now, not ever. Let the world remember this day. Brothers, sisters, leaders of Africa, let the world remember this day. Not as another summit, not as another speech,